Hola! Welcome to this lesson video for factoring out the GCF. Obviously, that's our learning target, to factor out the greatest common factor. So let's just get started to make sure you know what I mean when I say a greatest common factor. So here's just a random expression, 2a to the fourth plus 8a. Can you tell me what each term has in common? So hopefully you noticed that the 2 and the 8, they're both divisible by 2. So we would say that they have a factor of 2 in common. And then you notice both of them have a letter A. So we would say they also share an A. Okay, so when we say factor out the GCF, literally we take it out. Okay, we factor it out. But then we can't forget about what's left. So after we take away this guy's 2 and one of his A's, he has 3 A's left, so A cubed. Here, when I take out a 2, so now when I say take out, think division. So 8 divided by 2 would mean he'd have a 4 left. He had an A, but I took it away in the GCF, so all he has is a 4. Okay, and this would be factored form. So hopefully you're noticing, really, we're just distributing backwards. You know, if I were to distribute the 2a in, I would multiply and we would get what we started with. So we're just dividing and taking out whatever you would have distributed. Okay, so it's just reverse distribution, really. So if I look at example B, again, let's talk about what do they have in common. Well, they have a factor of 5, because 15 and 20 both divisible by 5. Do they have any letters in common? Actually, no. So when we go inside, we're thinking division. 15 divided by 5, I'd have a 3 and an F minus a 4G squared. The letters did not change because I did not take any out with my GCF. So this would be its factored form. So hopefully you're catching on to what I mean when we say factor out a GCF, because here's your Surgeon's General warning. Okay, in previous videos we've talked about dividing and sliding. If you have a GCF and you're factoring, divide and slide won't work for you. It won't get you the completely factored answer. So if we look at example C here, and I want to factor out that GCF, I look at each term and I notice they're all divisible by definitely a 2. Can I go bigger than a 2? Because you know GCF is the greatest. I think they're all divisible by a 4, and they all have an X. So what would I have left when I take that out? Well, let's see. The 4 would go away in the first term, but he'd still have 2 X's, so X squared. When I divide that 12 by a 4, he'd have a 3 and just an X left. And then 432. I think divided by 4, that's 108. And he has no more X's. Okay, so maybe you were thinking, originally it was a divide and slide problem or something, but actually we took out the GCF, and then take a look what's left in the parentheses here. Hopefully this is looking familiar. How could I factor what I highlighted? X puzzles or divide and slide? Well, since there's nothing in front of that X squared, it's understood to be a 1. It's actually an X puzzle. So we would put negative 108 on top and negative 3 on the bottom. So what will multiply to negative 108 and add to a negative 3? Well, that's actually going to be a negative 12 and a 9. So instead of this trinomial that's highlighted, we're actually going to use our X puzzle and break it down into 2 groups, because we want to completely factor. And then this GCF, we can't forget about him. He's still there. Okay? So if we were talking about completely factoring something, that's what I would need to see. Let's try one more. This guy, 18, 21, 15, he has, it looks like a divide and slide because there's a number in front of X squared, but we're in the GCF section. Take a look. Okay, because you've got to factor that GCF out first to have it completely factored. So 18, 21, 15, hey, they all share a factor of 3. So if I factor out a 3, I would have a 6x squared, because you think division, minus 7x minus 5. Okay? And again, we got to look at what we're left over with. Can I do anything else? Well, it'd be nice if I could do an X puzzle, but you know what? Because of that 6, I can't. So what I have to do actually is divide and slide. So we take the first number times the last number. I'm going to go quick because we've already done this in class. If you need to, go back to the divide and slide video. So I rewrite dropping the 6 and changing the last number to that product, negative 30. Now here I can do an X puzzle, negative 30 on top, negative 7 on the bottom. What two factors do I need? A negative 10 and a positive 3. They multiply to negative 30, add to negative 7. So I use those two numbers to get my groups. Now, the next step into divide and slide, which we can't forget about, is to actually divide. And we always divide by that first number that we used. So that was actually the 6. Now, the second thing we have to remember is you must always reduce your fractions. So, 10/6, I could divide out, I believe, a 2 from both of them. And I would end up with x minus 5/3. And then here, I could divide out a 3, and I'd end up with a half. Okay, so we did the division part, now it's the sliding part. Bottoms up. Slide the 3 up, slide the 2 up. So we'd end up with 3x minus 5, and then 2x plus 1. But we factored out this GCF, so it's really been here all along. So this would be the completely factored form. Okay, so that finishes our examples for factoring out the GCF. For a few extension problems, what you could do, I'll write them for you. Okay, so for some extra practice, here are the preview problems. All right, keep learning, guys, and have fun. I'll see you next time.